Hey everyone, last year the Mi A1 was incredibly well received, but now Xiaomi has a successor with a more modern look and upgraded internals. So is it time to upgrade? I'm Angie for GSM Arena, and this is our Xiaomi Mi A2 review. While it's not the most original or unique design, the A2 is a slim and elegant device. It now has a modern 18:9 aspect ratio and much thinner bezels than the first generation. It's a comfortable phone to hold, though you'll need to stretch your fingers a little if you want to use it one-handed. Unlocking the device is easy since the fingerprint reader is quick and in a good spot. The A2 has Gorilla Glass on the front and metal on the back. Despite it not being glass, it can still feel a little slippery. The vertical camera setup juts out a little too much, and it'll wobble if you use it on a flat surface. The phone feels like it can survive a tumble, but what it won't survive is a swim, because there's no IP-rated protection. The Mi A2's nearly 6-inch IPS LCD has a 1080p resolution and an average pixel density of 403 ppi. The screen has good contrast ratio with relatively deep blacks. However, color accuracy is not that great and there's no color modes to adjust. Another thing, at 420 nits, the max brightness is not very impressive. Sunlight legibility isn't great either, even for an LCD. In our tests, we rated the loudness of the single onboard speaker as excellent, though the quality itself could be a little bit better. You'll have to live the dongle life with this phone, but sound with headphones has great clarity even if it doesn't get particularly loud. There's no NFC, which is not ideal for a phone without a headphone jack, and there's no FM radio either. You can either get 32 or 64 gigs of storage with 4 gigs of RAM or 128 gigs of storage with 6 gigs of RAM. The phone scored an unremarkable 73-hour endurance rating in our battery life tests. With the USB-C charger in the box, you can go from 0 to 35% in half an hour, which isn't too horrible. Sadly, there's no wireless charging either, but you can invest in a Quick Charge 3.0 charger, which will definitely speed things up. The Mi A2 uses a Snapdragon 660, which is a dependable performer and handles the majority of heavy apps quite well. The phone heats up a little and there's modest throttling, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem. The A2 sports Android Oreo 8.1. The phone is part of the Android One program, which means it gets all the latest updates as soon as Google releases them for the next 2 years. Everything is very minimal and bare bones, and the only gesture shortcut you'll find is double pressing the power button to launch the camera. Not everything is pure Google, however. Xiaomi also added a few apps of their own. There's the Mi Remote that lets you control the onboard IR blaster, a file manager, and a feedback app that lets you submit complaints should a problem pop up. The Mi A2 has a double camera setup with one 12-megapixel main camera and a 20-megapixel secondary shooter for better low-light shots. In daylight, the A2 takes good shots with popping colors and low noise. Detail is good and surprisingly even better with the HDR switched on. The HDR itself isn't particularly good at increasing the dynamic range, but we like what it did for image sharpness. In low light, the phone takes well-exposed photos with good detail and no loss of color saturation. It seems like in this case the second camera is doing something. Portrait mode works well and produces shots with convincing background blur and decent subject separation. The front camera is a significant step up from the Mi A1. The 20-megapixel shooter captures incredibly detailed photos for a front cam. It also has pretty good colors. There's some noise, but it's not an issue. Portrait mode also works well with this camera. There's also a front flash, which doesn't quite produce sharp and detailed results, but does allow you to get the shot. 4K videos are nice and detailed, there's no noise, and colors are true to life. Unfortunately, there's no stabilization to speak of unless you bump the resolution down to 1080p. Full HD videos are well stabilized, but they're a little too soft. Audio is alright and selfie videos are pretty good. And when the exposure changes, the focus can still be on your face. However, if you've already got the Mi A1, it makes no sense to get this phone, especially if you're keen on keeping your expandable storage and your headphone jack. Also, this phone has a lot of competition, especially from the Nokia 7 Plus and the Moto G6 Plus, which both have stock Android and are pretty affordable. All in all, the Mi A2 turned out to be much better than the Mi A1, especially with the larger screen and upgraded chipset. So even though the Mi A2 is a good device, you should shop around and compare prices before you end up buying it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button down below, and subscribe and hit the bell icon to get our latest tech reviews as soon as they're out. See you next time.